From the top of Mount Everest to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, Earth can seem pretty enormous. But when you start talking about Earth in relation to space, you suddenly begin to feel very, very small. Buckle your seatbelts because Emilee is about to give you a PKN-style tour of the universe. Please welcome Emilee.
Do you guys know that space is really, really big? Well, this is one of the things that I geek out the hardest to, so I'm going to warn you about two things first. I'm giving you a 6-minute and 40-second tour of the universe, so I might talk a little bit fast. And secondly, by the end of this presentation, you might feel kind of small. Sorry about that. Because we're talking about space, okay, space. We're going to talk about space in relation to a few different things. We're going to talk about space in relation to the Earth and the surroundings of Earth. We'll talk about space in relation to the solar system. We'll talk about space in relation to our galaxy, the Milky Way, and we'll talk about space in relation to the universe. So, what qualifies me to tell you about these things? Number one, I'm a space nerd, always have been. Number two, I work at the Science Center of Iowa. Sometimes I dress up like an astronaut. And number three, I am an official NASA Solar System ambassador. I have an official, legit badge, has my picture on it, and that also qualifies me. In order to talk about space, we need to start with the Earth. The Earth is pretty big, right? It's 25,000 miles in circumference. There are mountains that are miles high and oceans that are miles deep. There are 7 billion human beings that live on the Earth. And sometimes we leave the Earth. When we go to Earth, we usually go to a space called low Earth orbit. Low Earth orbit is where humans spend most of our time. This is the area right outside of Earth. It takes about 8 minutes to get there if you take a rocket. This is where the International Space Station is. But it's not the only thing in a low Earth orbit. All of those black dots on this diagram are things in low Earth orbit. Either satellites that are functioning, inactive satellites, space debris. But really the thing I want you to see is low Earth orbit is right here. Things orbit the Earth all the way out to here, and that's the moon. The moon is really far away from Earth. And that's a common misconception. Let's say the Earth is the size of a basketball. The moon is the size of a tennis ball. How far apart do you think they would be?
Basketball, tennis ball,
24 feet, all the way across this room. So the moon is pretty far away from the Earth, but let's talk about the scale of the solar system. Number one, this is not to scale. But a really great thing that I get to tell you tonight is even though we don't have a shuttle program, NASA's not dead. We have current programs, missions to every single planet, plus asteroids, moons, and the sun. This is me. Last summer, when Curiosity was getting ready to land on Mars. I was really excited about it, and the thing that made me even more excited was that everybody else was excited about it. This was at midnight, and people were still up tweeting about it and talking about it. After 8 months of traveling through space to get to Mars, the best part was the last 10 minutes. Entry, descent, and landing. They called it 10 minutes of terror. In the past, they've used basically a big air bag. They'd just hurl over at Mars, and it'd bounce and it'd land. But this time they had this awesome sky crane. In order to get a real perspective of their solar system, though, we have to talk about one of my favorite spacecraft, which was mentioned earlier, which is Voyager 1. Voyager 1 was created in 1977 by this handsome group of fellows. And it was launched, it went by Neptune and Jupiter in 1989. It went past the orbit of Pluto, and it's kept on going. Currently, there's a lot of debate about whether it's left the solar system or whether it's in interstellar space, the space outside of our solar system. Yeah, sometimes I get really excited and draw diagrams of it on receipts. It's kind of weird. But the reason that this is such a big question is because this is the farthest human-made thing that has ever gone away from Earth. Let me see my number here. I wrote it down. It's 12 billion miles away from Earth right now. So it's really, really far, and it's just reaching the edge of our solar system. Let's say it leaves our solar system, which it's gone out of the solar system, out of my jurisdiction as a solar system ambassador, but I'm going to do my best to keep explaining it. In 2,000 years, Voyager would reach the Oort cloud, which is 1 light year away. This is the perfect time to talk about what a light year is. We all know that a light year is the distance that light travels in 1 year. In 1 year, light can travel about 6 trillion miles. 6 trillion miles. And the nearest star to us is 4.2 light years away. Raise your hand if you've ever seen the Milky Way in the sky. What we're seeing is actually really something amazing. Our sun is 1 out of 200 to 400 billion stars in our galaxy. Our galaxy is a spiral galaxy, and we're about right here. So we're 1 of 200 to 400 billion stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way. When you see the band of the Milky Way in the sky, what you're doing is looking straight through the most dense part of this relatively flat galaxy. I have a blank slide here, because I want to prepare you. We're not the only galaxy out there. There are hundreds of billions of galaxies. And the next image you're going to see will kind of melt your mind. A Hubble telescope focused on the darkest place that they could find in the sky for 28 days. And this is the image that they came up with. These are not stars. These are galaxies. 3,000 galaxies in the very darkest part of the sky. These stars, these galaxies are 13 billion light years away. And here we are. This is Earth. This is where all of us live, where we are right now. We are 1 of 8 planets in our solar system, which is 1 of 200 billion stars in our galaxy, which is 1 of hundreds of millions of stars, of galaxies in our universe. We thought Earth was pretty big. Thanks.